Training paradigms and programming. So I wanted to cover a few things and then specifically share with you the type of training that I use for my specific goal. I think that's one of the key things that you have to consider is what your goal is. So the first thing I want to talk about is your function or your overall goal objectives. So for instance, what is your desired outcome? Are you competing in strongman? Are you a bodybuilder? Are you a strength endurance athlete? Are you a runner, etc.? So those are all things that you have to be able to define in the beginning to be able to determine what kind of programming is going to be optimal for the type of goal you're trying to achieve. And so I always, well, it's actually a saying. It's a saying I like to use a lot. It's called "Your body becomes its function," and the method that you use to train will eventually, hopefully, help you achieve the goals that you're trying to, um, where you're trying to get to. So, first of all, is you have to be able to define what's your overall objective, what's your overall goal, and then the next thing you have to do is you have to consider the method or the program that you're going to use to help you achieve that goal. From there, you are going to look at the tools that you will utilize. So, for instance, will using a barbell or a sandbag or your own body weight or sleds or a treadmill or what have you, are they going to help you? Are those tools going to help you achieve your goal efficiently? So that's the other thing you need to do is that when you design a program, you also want to make sure that you have the correct tool for the job. There again, if you're trying to be the world's strongest athlete, you're going to definitely utilize barbells and some type of event training and so on. You're not going to stick to calisthenics. You're not going to just use like a light sandbag, etc. So you have to have the right tool for the job. The next thing you have to consider too is the factor of rest and recovery. It's essential. Sleep is one of the best things, one of the best anabolic things that you can possibly do. Yet a lot of us don't prioritize our sleep. So it's highly essential that you do. And the other thing that you want to take into consideration too is that you need to look at other factors like your nutrition, your age, and prior injuries to determine how much recovery you're going to need based on your training. So obviously, if your programming is short and quick, more frequency is tolerated. If your sessions are longer and strenuous, you're probably going to need more recovery time in between each session. So that's something that you want to consider. In regard to age, you have to deal with lots of things like your hormones and all sorts of different things, especially if you sustain prior injuries over the course of time. So, I had two major injuries, and that's why I kind of transitioned the way that I train now. I had major surgery on my shoulder, and I had my bicep torn off, and I only have one attachment with this arm, so you can see that gap right there. There's only one attachment there. So taking into consideration your injuries, you're going to want to do movements where you can achieve your goals but just maintain your overall health and well-being. Because the bottom line is we don't do the things that we do to destroy ourselves. We do the things that we do to continue to improve and continue to become stronger. So, okay, so I just want to briefly talk about my type of training, my programming, and the format. All of my programming is done by Adrienne Harvey. I chose to have her do my programming, number one, because she's really good at what she does. And I'll get into probably a different video a little bit later on how to choose somebody. You know, if you elect to go down to that route of how you would choose somebody, what's the criteria that you're looking for to design programming, personal customized programming. So she basically does everything in accordance to what my needs are for my specific focus, which is strength endurance events and improvement, gradual improvement. And sometimes you have to do regressions during sessions to continue improving. So it's not a linear progression all the time, you know, because she takes into consideration a lot of factors like what's my workload, what are some other activities that I've done, you know, how well I've rested and recovered, and other things that I have going on. So and then with continuous feedback and a feedback loop, I'm able to provide information and insight for her in order to structure a program that's going to be effective for me. So my typical format, though, the way that it's structured, is that I will start off with some mobility work, which is very important for me, especially at my age. You know, to keep mobile, that's something that I really didn't prioritize when I was younger that I wish I would have. I think I could have gone, you know, been a little bit more successful in some endeavors that I pursued had I done that and taken care of myself that way. But mobility work is essential, and that's about 15 to 20 minutes of my program. And then from there I'll do a warm-up circuit, so I'll get the body nice and warm. And then from there I'll do a main circuit, and then from there a cool-down circuit. But it's really not easier. It's just not as intense as the main circuit. And so the nice thing about the way that Adrienne structures my workouts is that I'm able to self-regulate. So for instance, she'll give me some boundaries, and I, depending upon how I feel, can elect to do more rounds or less rounds within the ideal boundaries that she established. And then also the weights are pretty much at my discretion too. So I can choose the weights based on how I feel and what my recovery is. So I think that's an excellent way of doing things. I think you have to be very flexible in your thinking, because there again, you know, your overall goal by doing training is to continue to improve. And so sometimes I think, you know, these individuals who have it in their mind where they continually go hard 100% all the time, it's going to lead to failure. You have to regulate. You have to go through cycles, depending upon where you're at for that any given day or what have you. So anyway, so those are some things just to take into consideration when you do programming. I kind of was very general as far as my own programming is concerned, because there again it's structured specifically for me. But that is the basic overall format. And then the other thing I want to mention too is that most of my training is done in a circuit style fashion to kind of minimize the rest and make use of time, because my workouts are very long. They can last up to 2 hours. So because of that, I want to be as efficient as possible and minimize the amount of time that I'm actually idle or not doing anything. So I'll often switch between various movements and areas that I'm working. So if you have any questions, just leave a question in the comments section, and I hope that was helpful. And then if you desire for some more specifics, I can do that too.